Am I the asshole for insisting my boyfriend eat respectfully at a nice restaurant? So my boyfriend, 20M.L., and I, 20F, have been dating for 7 months. We usually eat takeout if we want to get something to eat. However, I recently was promoted, so we went to eat at a very nice Italian restaurant to celebrate. Like, one with an enforced dress code. My boyfriend is not the nicest of eaters, which can be kind of gross, but I deal with it. However, I didn't realize he had no table manners. At the restaurant, after we were served our first appetizer, a beautifully plated bruschetta dish, L looked at me and jokingly asked me if I would be upset if he enjoyed his meal the same way he would at home. I told him that we were at a nice restaurant and there were other customers around. He didn't say anything, but instead started digging into the bruschetta with his hands, ignoring the serving fork, getting sauce all over his fingers. I let this go. However, when the pasta came out, he smirked at me and ate like he hadn't eaten in a week. He dropped his fork and started picking up pieces of chicken and noodles with his fingers, getting sauce everywhere. The tablecloth, his hands, his clothes and face. He didn't miss the opportunity to loudly burp after he had finished destroying his side of the table. The table next to us was astonished. My waiter even asked him if he was okay. Other customers were staring. He also put his feet up on the chair next to us, blocking the aisle. I had no idea what to do. I didn't want to make even more of a scene, so I just asked for the check, which I paid, and left really embarrassed. On the way home I told him how embarrassed I was, and he just said that it was my fault for not letting him enjoy the meal as he pleased, and that since we were paying customers the other guests had no business judging us. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. He smirked at me. He smirked at you. Dude knows exactly what he was doing, and took pleasure in publicly embarrassing you. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend behaved like a toddler. The fact that he smirked before doing it suggests he knew exactly what he was doing and that he was trying to embarrass you. Not the asshole. This isn't like he used the wrong fork. Or made a bit of a mess failing with oysters or lobster. He was intentionally being disgusting because he wanted to make a statement. I'm too cool for a fancy restaurant. Please, for the love of God, let that be the last meal you eat with this man. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. This is the human equivalent of a pet looking you in the eye while they PSS on your favorite cushion. It's not lack of knowledge of how to behave on his part. It was a deliberate act of dominance. Take this as the warning sign it is. Your future successes and happinesses will be treated the same way. Don't waste any more time on this a-hole. Not the asshole, he ruined something you wanted to do. You're both 20, does he wipe his ass well? Or is he only a messy eater? I feel like he might be trying to shoot down your hopes for enjoying yourself and make you feel guilty for once the things you do, and pay for. It will only escalate from here if you don't nip it in the bud, the behavior, in my opinion. Although, also in my opinion, you're not his mom and it's not your job to teach him how to behave like his own mother should have many years ago. Message his mom for advice detailing everything like you did for us and see what she says, or find literally any other adult who would at least feel ashamed of themselves for making such a fool of themselves. Not the asshole, that behavior of his is extremely disgusting, not to mention he deliberately did it. I eat with my hands sometimes at restaurants, but that's because it's a cultural thing. However, I do not get sauce on my face and eat like a goddamn baby. How hard is it to use a fork? Maybe he doesn't know how to use a knife and fork, but I don't either. I manage to eat like a decent human being without looking like a slob. Your boyfriend's table manners are disgusting. Edit. Spelling mistakes and grammar. Not the asshole. This should be the last time you see this. The fact that he smirked and asked before doing it tells you everything you need to know. He did it on purpose. He knew exactly what he was doing. It's not that he doesn't have manners, it's that he chooses to be a gross He wants to see how much he can get away with. He's an Cut your losses and move on. Am I the asshole for refusing to take in my sister's baby after I took in her daughter? 7 years ago I, 35 female, adopted my niece, 9, from my sister, 26. My parents have health issues and could not take her in, and so I took on the responsibility. I love my niece and I will never ever blame her for my sister's mistakes, but it unfortunately uprooted my life. It caused a significant sidetrack in my career, and I've had to turn down better job offers even because they wouldn't allow me to stay close enough to home. My parents love my niece, but cannot take on the responsibility of caring for her, so I don't want to separate them. I had never planned to have children. I even had a boyfriend before I took in my niece, but he also did not want to have children, and we made the decision to part when I took her in. We have never hid from my niece who her biological mother is, and even though the first few years of her life were hard, 3 years ago my sister started being in our lives again. She told me that she wishes for me to keep raising my niece because I have the better job, and can afford it. My sister only has her GED, and can hardly afford to keep herself afloat. She usually lives with her temporary boyfriend so she doesn't have to worry about paying for her own place. My sister acts like an aunt to her daughter, not like a mother, and my niece still loves her mother greatly. This past holiday, we were at my parents' to open presents and my sister gave my niece a present to open. It was a shirt that said, "I'm going to be big sister," on it. We weren't sure what this meant, but my sister informed us that she was pregnant, and that she would not be able to keep it, and she was once again expecting me to take in the baby. My niece was so excited at the news and my parents were happy to hear they were getting another grandchild, but I was just floored. I burst into tears immediately and just walked out. My sister came in to talk to me and I told her that I wouldn't be able to take in the baby. I don't want a new baby. I love my niece, but raising her is enough responsibility already. My sister told me I would be wrong not to take in my niece's brother. She didn't mean to get pregnant. Apparently she was on birth control, and she doesn't know who the father is. My parents couldn't take on a baby either, so it's up to me. My sister told me I should feel blessed, but I don't. When I told my parents and niece, they were all very upset, my niece especially. I don't know what to do, but I can't take in another baby. I know it is my niece's sibling and my sister's child, but it would completely ruin my life. My parents and sister are trying to get me to change my mind about this. Am I the asshole? She threw this on you in front of everyone, including her, your daughter? No. Manipulation in its purest form. She's 26 now. Not 17. She has GED, that should count for something. At this point, if she can't get her life together to keep the baby, or simply doesn't want it, that's fine. She doesn't have to keep it, but it's not on you to take it. She can put it up for adoption. There are other families looking to adopt. Not the asshole. You are not her child-raising service. Not the asshole. You sister needs to look into adoption. You need to get some counseling for you and your niece. Dealing with her mother in and out of her life has to be confusing. Not the asshole, not even slightly. Bringing children into the world is usually preceded by a conversation, and the person raising the child has the right to decide if they have enough time, money, resources to support a child. Your sister was out of line in so many ways. Not discussing with you, assuming you'd take a second child, telling her daughter before telling you, etc. Your parents sound a bit clueless too. Do they know this was a surprise to you? My sister told me I should feel blessed, but I don't. That's just manipulative, crazy talk. I hope you can get support, maybe from a therapist? I think you need to be empowered to make guilt-free decisions. What the actual fuck are your sister and your parents thinking? Your parents are happy about another grandchild. Under these circumstances, your sister can't keep plopping out children and automatically expect you to take them in. This is absolutely ridiculous. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your sister is cruel to manipulate a child like that. She should have spoken with you first before assuming anything, let alone telling your niece that you would be adopting another child. Maybe your sister shouldn't be as much in your niece's life going forward. Not the asshole. I'm sorry. Springing an entire baby on a person, in such a public display where she knew it would look bad on you if you refused. That's crazy, manipulative and horrible. If I may ask, why doesn't she get an abortion? NTA, what a fucking hypocrite your sister is. You should feel blessed to have the child she doesn't even want and wasn't responsible enough to prevent. I am so angry for you, your niece, and the next innocent child who will be screwed for your sister's irresponsibility and selfishness. Info: does your sister have learning difficulties or other issues? I'm really struggling to understand why anyone would think they were blessing you in this circumstance. Am I the asshole for refusing to eat food I don't like? I, 56M, have a son, 28M, who spent a lot of time traveling overseas in his college years. He went all around the world, including several trips to the Middle East, where he studied for his minor in Arabic language and literature. A few years ago, my son found out that a woman he knew in Pakistan had a son, 9M. She claimed this son was his, which I doubted. My son, however, believed her without question. He asked this woman to send her son to the US to stay with my son so they could get to know each other. He has spent the last few summers here. Recently, the boy moved in with my son full-time, a decision I strongly urged against. My son enrolled him in the same private school we sent him to at that age, which is very expensive. I have tried to support my son's decision, but it has been hard. I really want my son to get a DNA test, but he stubbornly keeps refusing. Recently, things came to a head at a family dinner my son invited us to. He said the boy was feeling homesick, so they cooked Pakistani food together. My son wanted the whole family to eat this food, because he said it would make the boy feel like he and his culture were accepted by the whole family. Now, I don't like Middle Eastern food. I don't like strong spices. My son begged me to just try some of it, or to at least eat the bread they made. The bread had flecks of all kinds of weird spices on it though, so I refused. My son got mad and asked me to please eat something just to make your grandson happy. He pulled me aside for this, so the boy wasn't present to hear our conversation. I told my son that I have no proof he is my grandson, and even if I did, I shouldn't have to eat food I don't like. My son called me a selfish, stubborn and then asked me to leave. So, I did. My wife stayed though. My wife agrees with me that I shouldn't have to eat food I don't like, but she said I could have at least tried a bite to appease our son. She thinks I was just being stubborn to be stubborn. I wasn't though. I don't like Middle Eastern food, that's all. How can I be the A for that? Still, my son isn't speaking to me right now. Should I have just tried some bread? YTA. Pakistan isn't even Middle Eastern lol, it's South Asian, but I'd loudly crying BTW. I'd also be angry if I reached middle age and couldn't handle the weird spices on bread. You are the asshole for not even trying the food before deciding you don't like it, and for thinking your opinion matters in regard to whether this child is his son or not. Gah. You're my exact age, and the stupendous, self-absorbed immaturity in your post. That breeze you feel is not evidence that the universe revolves around you. I have to wonder if you'd be as dismissive of this kid if he were white. This isn't about food. This is about you refusing to believe a kid is your grandson because of his race. At least admit to yourself that if the grandson was your same race, you wouldn't be denying it so vehemently. You are the asshole. You don't just not like Middle Eastern food, you don't like Middle Eastern people. You didn't give any reason why you doubt the boy is your grandson, except that his mother is Pakistani. God forbid, you didn't spell it out, but it's in big letters between the lines. Obviously your son loves the boy, so even if he wasn't his, you could try to learn a bit about him and his culture. You cannot even be bothered to try bread because it has spices on it, to help a homesick child? I guess you would even refuse mint tea, if somebody told you it was Middle Eastern drink. You are not only the asshole, you are a racist asshole. You are the asshole, you are the asshole, you are the asshole. Edit. Thanks, these are my first awards ever. The bread had flecks of all kinds of weird spices on it. I guess you took off your bib, got down from your booster seat, and toddled away. Seriously? It's bread and you could have tried it. Let's get to the real issue here, which isn't the food. For whatever reason we aren't privy to, this boy is your son's child. Instead of fighting this, why not embrace him and develop a relationship with him? You can state that these conversations about his DNA are out of earshot of the boy, but I can guarantee you that this child can sense your disdain for him. And what's his crime? Being Pakistani? I feel so sorry for the little boy and your son. You are unsupportive and, at worst, racist. Oh, and ridiculously picky. You are the asshole. You are the asshole and supposedly an adult. Act like one. You don't snub the host of a dinner by refusing to even try a bite of the meal they made for everyone just because you don't like spices. Get over yourself. You are the asshole. For all the reasons all the other good people of Reddit are saying. But what's annoying me the most? The xenophobia that clearly shines through when you are equating Pakistan as Middle East. There may be overlap in cultures and religion, especially as you go west from Pakistan geographically towards the Middle East, but not the same. It would be like saying, they tried to make me eat burgers, or insert some very American food. I didn't want to 'cause I don't like European food, okay? Not a perfect analogy but as senseless. Biryani vs kabsa, mandi. Samosa vs falafel. Naan vs pita. If you are gonna be a racist, at least get your facts straight. You are the asshole. You sound like a child complaining about specks on bread that you don't like despite never actually trying. Your son loves this boy like family, that should be enough for you. Am I the asshole for my reaction to my fiance Christmas gift? I've been going back and forth for days on whether or not I should post this, but I'll do just to get it out of my system. I've never been on Reddit before, so fair warning if I mess something up. I'm using a throwaway account because I'm embarrassed having to ask this question to begin with, so I'm going to leave some things vague on purpose. The only things that I'll admit is that I'm black, 26 female, my fiance is Caucasian, 27 male, and he works in the tech industry. I'll call him Dave. So, Dave and I decided to spend our Christmas with his parents, his 3 brothers, and their spouses. Dave got a huge bonus this year and told me he was going to go all out for me this year to make up for the past Christmases where we couldn't really afford anything. He asked me what I wanted and I said I wanted a popular fuzzy bag that was making the rounds on social media. We all opened gifts on Christmas Eve. One of my Sills got a fur coat, the other an air fryer she really wanted, etc. When it came to my turn, Dave handed me his phone. I looked and thought I was going to see a track package page for the bag. Instead, all I saw was an art picture of a monkey that was supposed to look like me. I asked him what this was, and he said that was my gift. He then started explaining to me how he had gotten into investing earlier this year and had saved up to buy it for me. He then showed his family who were just as flabbergasted as I was. I asked him how much money did he invest in this. He said $8K. Everyone started laughing, which made Dave mad and made me even more embarrassed. One of his brothers even brought up the point about how it was poor in taste to give a monkey picture to your black fiancé. Dave asked me if I was ever going to defend him, and at this point I was so humiliated that I just got up and locked myself in the bathroom for a good cry. An hour later I called myself an Uber and booked myself a hotel until I could make it back home. Dave called me and said I was the asshole for bringing down the mood in his family's house and for being materialistic. I told him that all I wanted was a $200 bag and he spent $8K on a monkey picture. He told me that he was investing in our future together and that I just couldn't see his vision. I'll admit that there were better ways I could have gone about reacting to the gift, and I do feel guilty about totally running off like that without any warning, but I was completely uncomfortable with the situation and I didn't feel like staying around to be laughed at. So, am I the asshole here? Not the asshole, what the actual F? Please do not marry that man. Not the asshole, and I'm asking this because I don't quite understand. Did he buy you an NFT? Not the asshole, especially since the family couldn't believe it either. And I don't think they were laughing at you, it sounds like they were laughing at him. Not the asshole giving a black woman a picture of a monkey that is supposed to look like her? That is so inappropriate. I am offended for you. He may be a great guy, etc., but this is showing his true colors, no pun intended. Investing in art can be great, but this? You two need to have a serious talk. I don't give a shish about the bag at this point. He effed up in a really bad way. If he doesn't see a problem with what he did, how will he respond down the road when you will, unfortunately, face more racism in your life? Not the asshole, he's as the asshole, there is no other answer. My guy got you, a black woman, a picture of a monkey in your likeness. Like I said that out loud and the words just didn't even make sense. All you wanted was the purse, man. How are you the asshole for being embarrassed? Yeah, it's giving major red flags. As a black woman, my mouth is open. In 2022 I don't see how your fiancé could not see how racially insensitive this is. The bag you wanted is secondary to this issue. Think if you guys have kids, the comments, the ignorance, the attitude he will transfer to the kids. In my opinion, you need to have a long talk, hang out together with more of your people, and talk to him more about what we go through as a people and the sensitivity he will have to have. This is honestly unacceptable, and him gaslighting you is very concerning that he knew it and is just embarrassed that the joke, or whatever game he was playing, didn't take. Without him showing awareness of his ignorance and callousness, I'd be concerned to marry this man. Not the asshole. Please don't tell me it's an NFT. Not only are NFTs usually ugly as shit, they're bad for the environment. You have every right to be mad for that racist gift, absolutely not the asshole.